Hello and welcome back to the channel. So it has been a little while since I've sat in front of the camera. So we're back again for one of these update videos, and now I've turned the camera on, I have to work out what it is I've come on here to say. So, where are we as far as the channel's concerned? So, channel's been a little bit up and down over the summer, as is always the case, but we're trying to get back to it now. And it's fast approaching as I sit here. It is the 24th of September. Now, I think you got about 5 good weeks before really you're packing up boxes ready for Telford. So, from my point of view, anything that I want to have ready for that show, that Scale Model World, the UK IPMS Nationals held at Telford, anything I want to have ready for that, I'm going to get ready. So first off, that starts through October. I'll bring back the weekly series, maybe even more than weekly, maybe once or twice a week if there's a lot to talk about, of just showing you what it's like preparing for the show. It's quite a big show. This year I want to enter a number of things in the competition, which was something I hadn't done before up until last year, and I entered one thing. So there's a few categories I want to enter. So most of it I've already got built. The good thing this year is there's no pressure. Usually I've got like 5 or 6 builds at this point I want to finish. So that's often a lot of work, but that's not the case. I've got plenty of stuff for my table, which is the special interest group for the Spanish Civil War. The 2 builds have already been on the channel, so the Trubia Naval and the, I'm looking at it up there, the Schneider gun with the Stalinets tractor, so they're both done. I've also got a Heinkel from earlier in the year as well. I'm working on some aircraft, so one that you all know very well, I'm sure, all the plane enthusiasts. This is a GA, General Aviation 43 Clark. 5 made, 1 in Spain, so there we are. It's basically like a passenger plane that was used in their postal service that had quite a lot of unusual planes used during the war, called the LAPD, the LAPE, LAP-E if you like, and that's where lots of one-off planes were used during that conflict, and that is one of them. So that's one thing I'm trying to finish off. I've also got here, we'll have a look at a bit more detail as we go on forward, but I've been sort of rearranging the stash, we'll get onto that in a minute, but this here is another resin tank, quite a weight actually, that I've just sprayed up. Very simple, it's about 5 parts, glued it together, no problem, and just sprayed it all over XF58, so olive green, and I'm just going to weather this up like the Trubia. This is another Trubia, this is the Trubia A4. I'm sure there's not many of you that are proficient in the tanks, vehicles, aircraft used during the Spanish Civil War, but that's one. A few other things that have been going on, so off camera, on camera, but as far as you're concerned, you don't know, I've been building the Panhard. So I want to get this one finished. This is the ICM in the Revel box of the Panhard 178 armoured car, which is a French armoured car that the Germans reused. And this is really, I'm using this build for a couple of things. I'm doing a sort of buddy build for Barbarossa. So this is going to be one of the vehicles used in that. Secondly, I wanted to test some paints, which we'll have a look at in a second. So they've been used on the interior, and I wanted to check out what the MRP Panzer Grey is like. So that's what I've used on here, over a black Mr. Surfacer. Now, I don't think I'd go that way again, because I think it's just too dark. It's just sucked all the colour out of what is already a dark colour for the Panzer Grey, the MRP one, which I'm reliably informed is a very accurate colour, but this here, I mean, it's just, there's just no life there. So before I commit to decals, I might mix up a bit of a lighter colour and spray some of the middle of the panels just to pick stuff out, so some high points. And then I'm going to get this one finished because we've got a group build which is being unveiled at the Nationals, which is going to be part of the South Somerset IPMS branch, which is a French build. So I miss the other group build that we're doing, so I've got to make sure I'm showing up with that one. So that alone is going to be my French entry. I've also got another kit I'd like to do, but I don't know if possible. I wanted to do a civilian aircraft. I was going to do it in the blue. Love Dora wings. Would like to build more. This is a Cauldron C631, the Simul, and it's typical stuff, you know, a bag of nice sprues, an interesting plane, 1/48. Who knows? I mean, I got 5 weeks, like I said, and you know, I thought I was going to be hitting it hard in here with sort of 7 or 8 weeks, and it hasn't happened yet because I keep getting so busy, and I'm still quite busy. But all being well, I'd like to do quite a few builds, and then that would be another French build for the group build, and it would all tick a load of boxes. I've also had a go at Tropin 2, which is a camouflage scheme that the Germans used on tanks, and this is the Stug that we've seen on the channel, and this is my interpretation of Tropin 2. Now I'm just gonna let this sit for a day or two just to get an idea of whether I want to go over this with a whitewash, because I'm not sure it's gonna look that good. And I got some photos sent to me, and they don't all have whitewashes. Some of them look like whitewashes, but it's actually snow, icy snow, sort of compacted on them. So not sure yet, not sure, because I think that's going to look bizarre with a whitewash on it, because I don't think this sort of peachy sandy colour is going to give you a high contrast, and contrast is what works so well in certainly with armour models. A high contrast always looks really good. So that's a few things that are on the go there. There's a few more things to talk about, and we've been sent a lot of things as far as the channel is concerned to go through, along with, I'm sure you'll see, there's a lot of other channels have said yes to this budget airbrushes. Now they're very keen for an inbox review, but I thought, well, that's kind of pointless for an airbrush, so I wanted to use it, and I have been using it. And I've got some notes on it, you know, my thoughts. I've got 5 airbrushes now, because 2 of these. One has not been opened yet. Let me just have a look. So we've got like their sort of top of the range airbrush that they do. This is kind of like the basic starter airbrush. And I have some thoughts. Not bad. Not necessarily bad or good. They'd work very well at being around sort of £30, £20, £30 for your first airbrush. But when you compare it to something like, shall we say, what have I got here? I've got an Iwater Revolution CR. I've got the Procon Boy. Is it Procon Boy? I keep saying this. I don't know what it is. PS. It's basically an Iwater airbrush that Mr. Hobby released, so that one. And I've got a H&S Ultra. Now all of these, this being the budget H&S Ultra, all of these rank considerably higher as an entry point than this. So that's just something to bear in mind. You know, quality, you do get what you pay for, and if something is cheap, the quality is lessened. However, it's a perfectly good airbrush. It sprays paint with air. So if they're your criteria, they're one thing to think about. Now we will get much more detail in a separate video. I've also been sent a whole load of paints by Army Painter, which I sort of instigated, because I think it's a good thing to see the sort of wargaming crossover, which I've always talked about. Citadel paints I've used on the channel. I wanted to use some Army Painter paints. I will admit, I will hold my hands up. They said what they were sending. I realised what they were sending. It wasn't until it arrived I realised they were airbrush version. Now I've brush painted with them and they're fine. It's just like they're finned. And they come with a ball bearing, but they are meant to be for airbrushing. So that has forced me into think. Well, actually, it's not forced me. It's made me think. Oh, maybe I should airbrush them, which I've been doing. And there was a certain Sea King floating around. You may remember, which has been just sprayed in these army painter paints, so that's something a little bit different that will come down the line. And I've also got their range of speed paints, which is similar to Citadel contrast paints, if you know anything about them. And they're really meant to be, if you're painting a figure for instance, you're meant to be able to paint one colour all over a white base coat, and it will pool in the recesses and thin out in the high points, and it gives you an automatically, like you've shaded, highlighted and base coated all with one thing, one brush coat. Now I thought they'd be quite useful for sort of cockpit washes or some wood staining washes, things like that, so that's what I wanted to use them for as well. And as I say, that'll all be coming down the line, and we'll be looking at that in due course. There was something else I got sent. Steady nippers, and that is STEDI. Now these are almost identical to the Display nippers, and this is their highest range. And then they sent me two others, which we've been again actively using. I don't see there any point going, oh, here's some nippers. They come in some boxes and you get a guard and they look like nippers. So I've used these for about a couple of weeks now. Fantastic. Whether these are copies, knockoffs, whatever you may think of them, they're great. That's my view. So regardless of anything else, I think they're incredibly good. And because I like to have credibility, I've been using for about a year and a half Display nippers. So I do in this case know what I'm talking about, and I don't want to talk Display down, but these were meant to be like the best thing ever, and ever since I got them, I don't know if I got duff batch or something, these have not worked how I expect. I mean, look, for instance, oh well, they're doing it now, but you see they stick. Now I know you can just oil them, but they've been like that sort of since the start. You're meant to be able to undo all these nuts and loosen them up, and if they're over cutting and that sort of thing, and I've got all the stuff that come with it. I cannot undo it for the life of me. It's like it's seized, and they're not very sharp, and they don't cut at the ends. So, but they're very well presented in their packaging. The Steady ones, which I must say are, you know, almost identical. However, you know, they do the springing is better. These are what I expected these to be. That's all I'm going to say. So there we go. Again, coming to you in a separate video will be more information on those. So going forward, as a side to that, what we're going to look at over the next couple of weeks, I'll move the camera onto the bench for separate videos now, so I'll actually get on and do some of the things I should have been doing. But what we're going to do is, like I say, we're going to open up the channel to not just sort of weekly videos, try and get a bit more of a community aspect going. Like I say, I do it for myself, let alone if anyone actually enjoys it, talking about the run down to Telford. So I'll start filming them next week and then have them going out through October, because that's always a nice thing. Try and even get a bit of filming done at the show, which I always threaten and never do, but I'm doing it again. I'm well aware of the lack of aircraft on the channel, and I am consciously aware of that, and I am looking to do some aircraft. However, I don't have anything in the pipeline at the minute. It's not like a video imminent, so if you are into your aircraft, do not fear. There'll be stuff coming down the line. I've got some really exciting projects, but nothing just yet, I must admit. It feels like I've only really started building again properly in the sort of last month. I know you've seen quite a lot of videos going up, but they've been finishing off things that I'd started a year ago, so it's been very tricky with me regarding weather, and as in it being hot, and in this room is the hottest room in my house, and also anything relating to weather makes my work more difficult. So if we get sun, my work is harder because I look after plants, there's watering, all that sort of thing. But it feels like we've broken the back of it a little bit, and certainly as we get into October, I'm hoping that now I'd be able to transition over. I tend to get a day off a week in the week as well, so I can focus on that, and then that usually pays back a bit more content. So I think it's going to be really exciting what we're going to be doing down the line, and I'm hoping all of you will be very interested in following that along. So as always, let me know your feedback down below. Hopefully this little update is enough of a window into what's been going on. And as I said, there's going to be a lot of videos coming up now. I'm going to start filming some reviews. I've got some books to look at, some different scales. So those of you who are into armour, I've often been asked about smaller scales. So I've got some 1/72 and 1/56, the Rubicon scale coming down the line. I'm also even thinking about doing a 1/144 aircraft. So all sorts of things are going to be different, and I'm hoping to do some more modern aircraft. But don't hold me to that. But that is my plan. Something at least with jets, or hopefully jets. So we'll see. Hopefully, like I said, that'll all be down the line shortly. So as always, if you like what you see, thanks, and let me know your comments down below. Thanks for everyone's support over the channel all this time, and the continued support. It's very much appreciated. Stay tuned, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.